conservative culture, and I grew up on it. But just because it's a good idea to have somebody with you
Right, having
throughout
a
these
partner.
challenges, because then just think about it. You get old, you don't have children, because you need a partner. You need the other person to have a children and to uh, raise the children too, and input your morals and your legacy. Pretty much, your children are always going to be your biggest legacy. You just
Mm.
look at you and your parents. You're the pride of your family, right? So am I.
Mm.
So it's like that. Like I do want I do want to have children. So for that, I'm not gonna be the type of person that just. This is a conversation between friends.
None of what is said here should be taken as legal advice.
We are not experts in any way.
Take what resonates and leave the rest. All right, welcome back, everybody. So, Shots of Info, episode number 61. Let's see what we got here for the topic. So, on the foundation section, we have, is marriage a good idea in this day and age? Apparently, Michael's never heard this expression before, but I feel like, I mean, if you read a book or something, like a more prehistoric book or something like that, you'll probably
Maybe I
have
have
heard of that
come
expression.
through it, but
Well,
never
not
like close
prehistoric.
attention.
I mean, just books in history. They say they usually have this expression in it.
Got
In the
got.
fitness section, we have post personal training certification. So, what ends up happening after you get your certification? And then on the finance section, we have Trump's impeachment, which is really big on the news lately, and news updates, of course, in the end. And that's that. All right. So, is marriage a good idea in this day and age? So,
You can start because you're the relationship guy. How would
right.
you say it?
Um, man, is marriage a good idea today? I don't know. I mean, again, it usually depends on the person, right? I can't really tell you that it's always going to work for everybody. And also one of the big things nowadays, specifically in Western culture, is that a lot of marriages end up in divorce relatively quickly. Within the time span of like 2 to like 10 years, those marriages usually tend to dissolve. It's very rare that you see marriages that last a long time. And then it's even rare to find a marriage that's actually good. Like, the two people still love each other. They're very physically attracted to each other. And they're not together just simply because they're either too lazy to find other people or they have too many things together in terms of assets. So getting divorced and, dividing up the assets is going to be problematic. Or, if they're a part of a religion, then it doesn't look well for them, right? Their image and their standing with their family, with their church, or whatever your religion may be. All those things aside. Is marriage a good idea? I don't know. I don't know.
For real? Honestly, I thought your answer would be no, straight up. Well, actually, yes, it's straight up.
Yes.
But
I can't, like, for me, like, I'm in a relationship, right? I'm in a committed relationship. And so here's the thing. I've been playing around with this idea lately, and I've talked to my partner about it as well. So one of the things that ends up happening with just humans in general is that we have sexual energy, right?
mhm.
And, sexual energy is a powerful tool because it can drive us to do many things. And I would wager to say that a lot of sexual energy has developed the society that we live in today. Simply because, men have wanted to maybe impress a woman, or a man wanted to dominate whatever, a civilization, or they wanted to dominate a tribe, or whatever the case may be, to get access to women to procreate and reproduce. There's a bunch of different ways sexual energy has formulated the society that we live in today. But in any case, one of the things that ends up happening, and we talked about this before, is that once you become overly sexualized, and you specifically see this in the Roman Empire. So at a certain point, the Roman Empire stopped, pushing, I wouldn't say like dominance or, like strength, but they started promoting more sexuality. and they started being more free with their sexuality. And again, it's not that they stopped promoting strength, but they didn't put as much of an emphasis on it. They didn't put as much of an emphasis on, having restrictions and boundaries with their sex. And to a certain degree, you could wager to say that that might have been the beginning of the decline for the Roman civilization, because what ends up happening is that if you give in to,
right.
sexual impulses, right, you're going to be too busy to worry about the guy that's, knocking on the door trying to break in. Or you're not even going to hear them. They're just going to walk in and just end up slaughtering everybody in the party.
Right.
Have you ever seen the show Spartacus?
No.
It's a really good show. I'm pretty sure it's still on Netflix. It's about these gladiators that fight in arenas and basically just depicting the Roman Empire. They're in I think is right at the point where they're starting to decline, and then how that ended up culminating, and from the point of view of a gladiator or multiple gladiators. Really good show. A lot of blood and a lot of sex.
Okay, I gotta watch that. Well, my understanding for the Roman Empire's decline, it was because they started becoming less tolerant. No more tolerant, less tolerant. Because less tolerant, because the Catholic Church has a big role when it comes to this. We're not gonna go into religion, but that's my understanding how it started to fail. Like every culture, every hyperpower that existed throughout history, it's because they became less tolerant to the culture and the people that lived within their empires or within their countries.
You say less tolerance, they started becoming more restrictive, and
yes,
they started deporting. Well, I mean, in today's day and age, deporting people. Yeah, I guess you could say that. I mean, the Roman decline was a fact with multiple factors. It's not just going to be it was just because of sex that the whole Roman Empire declined.
Imagine. That's crazy. Actually, there is one that because of that, because of love, the empire fell, and it was because the Alexander the Great's empire, which was the Ottoman Empire, because he was in love with another dude, and because they killed him, he died. I mean, he died or he got injured or something like that, and that was the end of the empire, because he was the head, he was the ruler. So you can say sex or love, it has a huge play. But my turn. Let's see. What do I think about marriage? God damn, that's actually quite a question. I will stand firm on my decision, on what I'm gonna say. I know a lot of people are not gonna agree with me, but I think marriage is a business, is a partnership, and yeah, honestly, you're definitely looking for the right girl or the right partner that's going to support in your goals, as well as you supporting her on her goals. So sometimes it not might be the girl that you fall in love with or that you are the most attracted to, because those are superficial things, and a partnership is always going to be more than that. It's going to be more about communication, friendship as well, and of course sexual desires. You guys are going to be fucking eventually and creating beautiful children.
Often, I would hope.
Go ahead. What's up?
I said often, I would hope.
Definitely.
But no, yeah, that's definitely true. Literally, that's something that my father told me.
Oh yes, even your father mentioned that. But that's what I think. That's my reasoning behind marriage. And I don't know, maybe that's why I'm still single, because I haven't met that person that is pushing me to my limits, or encourage me to be the better, or not just encourage me, but also complimenting me in certain ways that I need, to be complimented, and I don't even know about it yet, to be my biggest support or something like that. But definitely marriage, I feel from what I've seen, from my family, within my family, I know that love eventually fades. That's the hard truth. Even if you start falling in love with the person, it's never gonna be the same as you getting to know the person. So what if you? That's why I always think about this. Once I'm in a committed relationship, I will have to live with the girl for at least a few years, 3 to 5 years together, before eventually committing to marriage with her, because I want to see all her, how she is, living with her. And I feel you're taking the right steps towards that. But and I respect that, but because it can be challenging. But yeah, so that's my standing on marriage. Like, will I get married? And also like that age regarding the, what do you say, the age, whatever you mentioned.
In this day and
Um,
age.
I would say yes. I will eventually want to get married and have like a traditional family in the future, but not now. Like maybe looking ahead like 10 years after I have completed some of my goals, like the goals that I want to complete because of me. And then like, like traveling, some projects that I have, a personal project that very dearing to me, before committing to that person and getting married, I want to experience those things and also like, have sex and get crazy. So
But that still doesn't really answer the question, because maybe specifically for you, you want to get married. But for the average person, do you think it's a good idea to get married today?
I would say yes, because it's still one of the most what do you call it, profitable businesses, because
Foundational, maybe?
foundational business, yeah, because like, you're pushing each other, and especially if you mm, don't really have a clear purpose on your life, maybe you need the person to push you to do better.
Eesh, that's a problem though.
No, I mean, it's like a mutual thing,
Yeah, but
but
that can kind of get convoluted with like you starting to develop this what's that kind of relationship? Ah, it's a relationship where you start depending on the other person
oh,
in order to
dependent.
find
Right.
depending on that person, right? Codependent relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where you have to be very careful about, not trying to find purpose in another person, but you know, well, I mean, that's the whole point for that. You can keep going.
No, but I mean, I still gonna say yes. It is a good idea for people to like experience that. It's one of those experiences that a lot of people are gonna go through.
For sure.
And even so, like now in more liberal times that we live on, like there's such a thing. Remember I shared with you like this guy who has two wives. Literally, he's engaged to two women, which is what do you call it? Polygamy.
Polygamy. Yeah.
Polygamy relationship. So regarding of like the way that you approach it, or like your views about it, it's still doable. Like I feel like it's still a good idea. I will stand with that. Not just because of religion, not just because of like culture, because I do come from like a more traditional, conservative culture, and I grew up on it. But just because it's a good idea to have somebody with you
Right.
throughout
Having a
these
partner.
challenges. Because then, just think about it. You get old. You don't have children because you need a partner. You need the other person to have a children and to uh, raise the children too, and input your morals and your legacy. Pretty much, your children are always going to be your biggest legacy. Just
Mm.
look at you and your parents. You're the pride of your family, right? So am I.
Mm.
So it's like that. Like I do want I do want to have children. So for that, I'm not gonna be the type of person, the type of man who just goes out with a woman and just leaves children abandoned there.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So just for that sense, just for that structure, I feel like family and marriage, it is a good idea, but not at so early age. Like just achieve your goals, do what you gotta do, go fuck around, and then eventually meet, or honestly meet the right person, and she better be your best friend because you're gonna live together. So
Sure. But I think I figured out a better way to kind of articulate where you're trying to go with that.
so you're
So
against marriage. Oof.
no, no, no. I didn't say I was against it. But in terms of the codependency, so
Mhm.
rather than looking for a relationship in terms of like finding a purpose for your life because you don't feel like you have any
Right,
sense
right, right.
of where you're going, you can use a relationship to give you better direction. So
Mhm.
not necessarily that you're looking to find purpose within another person, but being in a relationship or like in a committed relationship to such a degree where you're planning on getting married, it kind of gives you structure, right? Because if you want to make that relationship last, then go forward and have families or have children and have families, you got to have your shit together. And the only way that works out is by you putting in the work now and trying to see if this relationship is going to work for the long term, doing the relationship thing, but simultaneously you being on your purpose, figuring out what it is that you want to do with your life, making good business decisions, good financial decisions, making sure that you're not putting yourself in a situation where, later on in life, you're going to be at a detriment because you decided to, gamble away your money or do something crazy. So I would say that's a good reason to be in a relationship, just to get a little bit more direction. If you feel like you're not at a point in your life right now where you have a lot of direction. But again, you have to balance that out with, that doesn't mean you're going to find purpose in another person, because that's where the dynamic flips. And instead of this relationship being, 50-50, what ends up happening is you're constantly looking and seeking her attention, her validation, her love. And you just become,
it can go the other way as well.
Yeah, it could definitely go the other way. The woman starts looking for that in you, and it becomes annoying and it becomes a drag, and it's not a relationship you want to be in. It's just something that you're kind of forced to do because you feel bad for the other person.
No, definitely. I think I worded it wrong when I went to that part. That definitely is not what I was trying to say, but yeah, I completely agree with you. Like, marriage shouldn't be a codependent relationship. It should be a partnership. Like I said, partnership are usually 50-50. But yes, like, so you agree with me that marriage is still a good idea even nowadays?
No, I definitely agree. Marriage is definitely still a good idea, especially, for the direction, for the purpose, for giving you structure in your life. And again, if you're young and you feel like, you're ready for that level of commitment, like, again, I feel like I am at this point, go for it. Like, set yourself up so that ends up being the case. But if you're not, and you're like, I want to explore my options, I want to see what else I can do, explore the world, etc., do that too. There's no right answer here. We talked about this before. There's no right answer.
Yeah, actually, I think this all comes down to, remember the reason why I'm single and you is in a relationship, it all comes down to a preference. But ultimately, definitely, if you got the chance or you feel that you're ready for a commitment like marriage, take it, because you don't want to end up all alone when you're old.
Why not even say to be alone? Again, I feel like it falls more down to the direction and the purpose.
That's true.
Because, you have to not be afraid about being alone, because a lot of times you're going to be alone in life. And not everything is going to happen with another person. You need to be comfortable with being alone. And
in the sense alone, I don't mean like alone physically. In the sense is like you don't leaving any legacy.
Right.
You died. Like, just think about it. Like, okay, when you die, like literally when you die, like you're not even here present. Who's gonna be in the funeral? There's not gonna be there. You get me? It's just nothing after that. Like, your legacy ended.
For us, that works well, like that thought and the idea. But for some people, they're like, well, I don't care. I don't seek to leave anything behind. It's like, more power to you, man. That's what we're saying. There's no right answer here. You can do whatever you want. Right. Yeah, for us, that is appealing. Maybe that's because of our culture. Maybe that's just because of the way we grew up, the things that we've seen. For you, that might not be appealing. Not a problem. Just don't think that, being alone is a bad thing. You should be comfortable with whatever, like, wherever you are in life. You should be comfortable with, like, listen, this is my situation. It's not necessarily that I'm choosing to be here. It just is what it is.
Right.
Figure out a way to get yourself out of there. If it's not a situation you want to be in, you should always be focused on your purpose. And that usually, I would say, that wouldn't necessarily, it staves off the loneliness, but it gives you like a light at the end of the tunnel, as opposed to you just sitting in darkness.
Right. Yeah, definitely. All right. So we both agree that marriage is still a good option, I would say, for those that prefer it.
It's an option. It's definitely an option.
Let's move on to the next topic of the day, which will be fitness. What we got for fitness?
So on the fitness side, we have, hold on.
Post-training certification.
Post-training certification.
All right. So what you did after you got your certification? So what steps should one take?
So one of the things after you get your initial certification is that you end up needing to renew this every couple of years, 2 or 3 usually. And in order for you to renew them, you need to take credits.
Okay.
Like if you were in college, right? So you need to take some classes in order to apply for these credits. And these classes can range from, some online marketing classes for personal training, or they can be, what I've done, kettlebell concepts training. So how to be a kettlebell instructor. That's how I got credits for the certification. Also how to do stretching. I've done a little bit of stretching. Oh, hold on.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, do me a favor, pause the video for me. I was watching a video yesterday. So yeah, going back, we paused for a second there. Recapping.
Gotta cut this out. Go.
No worries. So yeah, after that, I did a stretching certification, which I kind of, I showed you a little bit about how you can do some stretching on people, some assisted stretching. Maybe not so much anymore with the COVID restrictions, but social distancing and all. But eventually at some point we can try that again. CPR, that's fundamental. You can't really get your certification without a CPR license. And yeah, so those are the kind of steps that I've taken in order to get credits to renew my certification. My renewal is coming up here in March, so I gotta take care of that. Usually there's a fee for that. So it could range anywhere from $50 to $100. And you got to show proof of the credits and the classes that you're taking. So, it's kind of basically like doing a little college courses here and there in order to get more credits and, get your certification renewed. And yeah, that's pretty much all there is to the post personal training certification.
Wait, I have a question regarding like who checks on these credits?
So the associations that you get your certifications from. So for me, I got it through WITS, World Institute Training something. I forgot the last part. But there's a bunch of certifying bodies, right? So there's an ASM, there's the WITS, there's ACSM, there's CSCS. There's a lot of them. Usually the best ones are the ones that are accredited by colleges. So ASCS, ASCS, and CSCS. There's a lot of C and S's there. ACSM, that's what I was trying to say. ACSM and CSCS. Those are usually certified by colleges and what are you saying? Sports, college, universities, or whatever the case is. They're accredited by the highest levels of education. So those are usually the ones that most people want to get. And they take forever to get as well. Take like 2 years. You got to take training courses, and by the end of it, you would be able to train the top athletes. So yeah.
Another question.
Yeah.
Do they care where you get it from?
Depends on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to train at a gym, then some gyms require you that you have a bachelor's degree in nutrition and exercise, that you have this certification, and that you have this level of experience with training. For me, I got lucky where I ended up just going in for internship. And usually what you end up finding is that if the gym isn't like super high level, so like an Equinox or something like that, or a private gym that requires you to have everything in order, you don't really need too much experience. You're usually going to find that you'll get most of your experience on the job. And that's why personal training has such a high turnover rate, because people don't want to stick around to, learn everything that we've talked about in the past, the soft and hard skills of personal training.
Okay. So after you get your certification, so somebody who's like going in the track for like to becoming a trainer, what should they do? Apply for internships, apply for work? What should they do?
Yeah, so I mean, some gyms don't even require you to have a certification right off the rip, but I would say it'd probably be the best way to go about it. Get your certification, which can range anywhere from $500 to $1,000. You got to take an exam. Sometimes they have a practical component to it, so you have to go into a gym and demonstrate your knowledge. And then apply for for internships at different gyms. Some of the certification bodies, they kind of because you're certified through them, they give you opportunities to work with gyms that are partnered with them. So that's how I got my internship. My gym was partnered with the organization. I did an internship there. It worked out. And then here we go, 2 years later.
Okay. Sweet. I think that answered all the questions I got.
Mhm.
All right. Do you have anything else to add up to that topic?
No, that's pretty much it. Just if you want to
All
do it, go
right.
ahead and do it.
All right. So let's jump into finance. Split some of the tea that happened today. Trump got impeached for the second time. This makes him the first president ever in the United States to be impeached twice in history. So my guy is making history regardless. All right. So why he got impeached? Now, this is because of what happened last week. So last Wednesday, to be more specific. And actually, a lot of consequences happened after that occasion to him. So he got banned from Twitter permanently. Now he's getting impeached, and actually, his own party is not longer supporting him. So the Republican Party, the head of the House, if I'm not mistaken,
Mitch
Connell.
McConnell.
There you go, that one. Even he said that, or there are rumors of him saying that he no longer agree of what Trump is doing or his views are, and they want to disassociate his party from him. Now, even today, Wednesday, that 13, the impeachment meeting happened, where the following are the results. Second impeach for Donald J. Trump, yes. Democrats 222. No surprise, all the Democrats were a favor, and 10 Republicans out of 100 and actually out of 220. So just actually no, 10 Republicans, and there were 197 oppositions, and all of them were Republicans for the no. So now just to like a little grasp, what are some of the effects that we see this as a catalyst? Can this be a negative catalyst for the market, or can it be a positive catalyst for tomorrow? What do you think?
Well, I mean, damn, I didn't pay attention when it happened the first time when he got impeached. I would probably say that it's definitely going to be a negative catalyst overall. Usually, anything negative in the political sphere and tends to be bad.
Right.
I don't know if you remember what happened with the last week with the rioting.
Mm-hmm.
Literally at 2 p.m, the market literally just pulled back so aggressively. I thought, some crazy thing happened, but turns out those riots ended up turning pretty bad.
Very good.
So, yeah.
Okay, so you expect a negative catalyst. Now, the impeachment happened during like 1 or 2 p.m. Market closed after 4. We still finish in green today. Actually, just gonna give you a little overview. The SP 500 ended on 0.23, the Nasdaq 0.43%. The Russells and the Dow Jones, they definitely fell due to like most of the companies, they are associated some way with Donald Trump. But as the past weeks have been happening, we have seen already a lot of corporations getting, delinked, or they're trying to like influence or be in good terms with the Democratic Party nowadays, because that's what business do. Like honestly, they don't really have a specific political party that they support. They just go with whoever has the power to help them at the moment. So we already see a lot of companies such as like financial and tech companies. Actually, tech companies always being democratic for most of the part, but being disassociating from the Republican Party, specifically more with Donald Trump. So, in my opinion, tomorrow's market, it's gonna have little or no catalyst at all. We're just gonna have a normal day. But I do expect that we are going to see some red at the beginning of the day and end on green at the end. And just that, to be honest, like he saw it coming. What do you think about the impeachment? Like, was it necessary or was not necessary at this point? Like he has 7 days left on the office.
Right. So that's what we were talking before we even started. Like, it doesn't really matter all that much. So I mean, the speculation is that he actually ended up inciting the riots, right? So like he was giving a speech outside the White House or near the Capitol there, and was saying that if whatever happens in the Capitol goes through, your freedoms will be taken away, and you will no longer be a part of a free America, et cetera, which kind of incentivized people to like, hey, we got to stop the vote here because if this goes through, then everything's going to end our freedom.
Mhm.
So that kind of incited the riots by telling them that everything was going to go to shit if they didn't. And well, these are the consequences of those actions.
Absolutely. Everything has consequences in this life. So choose wisely. All right. So now moving on, some news updates. GameStop. We gotta talk about GameStop. You were talking to me earlier about it. It went to the roof and nobody saw it coming. No
Nope,
one.
nope, nope. I've been keeping my eye on the thing for like since late October last year, early
Mhm.
November, and at that point, it was. Oh, pause it for a second.
Go go go.
Right. So I was saying that I've been watching it since November, and by that point it was sitting like $10, and even then it was actually trading pretty high because before that it was usually ranging between $3 to $5,
Mhm.
basically doubled at that point. And then today it absolutely just popped off. It went up as high as 38 on the day, which put
Mhm.
it over almost 80% on the day. And I was not anticipating. I don't know if anybody was anticipating such a ridiculous run today, but it ended up being the case that it had positive earnings, and it just took everybody by surprise. So what I was telling you beforehand, before we started, is that GameStop has now been kind of really being pushed by big investors. One of the big people is from the company called Chewy, which is this. I'm pretty sure it's just an online company that deals with
Good
food
for
for pets,
Mhm.
food for pets, right? And they've been absolutely killing it. They've had a crazy run as well. They've pretty much doubled within, I think, like a 3 month period. So their earnings, the way they do business, the leadership, it's all really been on the up and up. So the CEO of that company has been endorsing GameStop for a little bit now and has really been investing a lot of money into it.
Mhm.
And that has brought in other investors, which has now been really putting GameStop back on the map. Because, GameStop, it was pretty much just a dying company, just given the fact that, all the online ways to get video games, digital sales. I don't even have to leave my house to buy a game now, et cetera, et cetera. GameStop is a physical store. Now you have to deal with COVID, right? So there's all those restrictions. People don't want to be going into stores or places.
Mhm.
So yeah, but Christmas or the holiday sales
A
were pretty
holiday.
positive. One of the other things is that Microsoft ended up doing a partnership with GameStop as well. So that's one of the things that has been driving the price up with alongside all those investors putting in money. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So that was one of the biggest cause. All the new partnerships, the remodeling of their business model. That's funny. Remodeling of the business model. And also on Monday, that company announced an agreement with RC Ventures to refresh the company's boards of directors. So three new directors were appointed: Alan Atal, Ryan Cohen, and Jim Groth. Now, same thing, one of the biggest catalysts will definitely be the holiday sales, which rose 4.8% year of the year. And the
Mhm.
e-commerce sales, the e-commerce sales jumped 308%. So, like you
Mhm.
mentioned, because of quarantine, maybe it's one of the big factors for this huge increment. But also because everything nowadays, we like the commodity of a couch, so we'll be buying games from there.
Convenient, very convenient.
Convenience, absolutely. So everything related to convenience is always gonna have huge returns in the long run.
One more.
Now,
I got one more for you.
go
Did
ahead.
you by chance see the info on Intel?
Yes, I did.
Okay, go ahead.
Absolutely. You want to talk about that? Go ahead.
I just saw the brief overview of the fact that they have a new CEO.
Right. Well, they were on green today. They had a positive feedback. They also trying to see and learn from other companies, other manufacturers like AMD and NVIDIA, because their been is lacking. They're the oldest players on the microchip sector, but they've been struggling after they lost their partnership with Apple and more stuff, other catalysts as well. They were struggling a lot, and nowadays they're changing their CEO, right, and remodeling their business models, because that's all it is. Because sometimes you have to adapt. And
Yep.
similar situation is happening with Spirit Airlines, which is like the bare fare, like the minimum fare. Everybody loves to hate, but believe it or not, they still use Spirit Airlines. Why? Nowadays, that's the only company that might like more chances to survive into this, how you call it, like this
Day and
uh,
age.
day of age. Yeah, there we go. This day of age. But yeah, because most of the airlines, if you think about it, almost 50% of their revenue comes from their business class, because a lot of people do business and they are willing to pay more money for the luxury to fly in those classes. Whereas Spirit is mainly based, charging you for the little things like a water bottle in the plane. So most of the revenues is for like people who likes to travel for luxury, or for like, I mean, for leisure, um, for just for traveling.
Yep.
But whereas the other companies, they rely a lot on business class, so like people who travel for business. And now with COVID, that's no longer a thing. It's not as bigger as it was 2 years ago, like a year ago. But yeah, now moving on. The U.S. banned Chinese tomatoes and cotton, so in the trade war, and this has been happening ever since Trump got into an office. But it's the clear winner of the trade wars. It's China, from one report that I was reading through, and this okay. So last year the U.S. imported a $19 billion worth of cotton and tomatoes from China. Deputy Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, Kenneth blah blah blah, he commented that forced labor is a form of modern slavery made in China, doesn't just indicate a country of origin, it's a warning label. So that's interesting that they brought that up just now, because that has been for the longest time the controversy of the labor camps over there and what is happening with the Muslims in Uyghur, or something like that. It's
No,
like
yeah.
one part of Asia, which is really
Mhm.
sad to see that happening, and it's not attracting a lot of media or awareness in here in the Western countries. But that's pretty much it from my end. It's been a really good day. Uh, on my trading aspects, I traded against the markets at the beginning of the day, didn't go well, so I took some losses. Then I end up trading gold, which actually surprisingly jumped. Um, it did a really good job today. What about you?
Mhm. Yeah, a little bit of a slow day. I kind of came in with a little bit of just randomness. I didn't really have too much of a plan. I've been
Mm-hmm.
trying to like stay away from trading Tesla and Neo right now, just because they're both really overbought, waiting for a nice
Right.
strong pullback in order to start trading them a little bit more actively. So I've been kind of looking around. We were talking about Mara before, right? With all
Mm-hmm.
the Bitcoin news and the hype and stuff. So I started trading that.
It
That
pulled
went pretty
today.
well. It went, I mean, for me, like because I didn't have a structured plan with Mara, I ended up just kind of winging it, and it. I ended green, but it wasn't anything crazy. I definitely could have done a
Gotcha.
lot better, but I didn't have a plan, and that just speaks to you have to be prepared when it comes to trading the market. You have to do your due diligence. You have to do your research. Look at the news. So one of the things that I ended up finding out afterwards, after I was basically done trading, is that they did a direct offering. And usually direct offerings are negative catalysts in the short term. And that
Mm-hmm.
happened today on the same day that I decided to trade them randomly.
Oh
So
shit.
that's what ended up driving the prices down. And
Mm-hmm.
their offering doesn't end until Monday on the 15th of January.
Oh
So
wow.
the price is going to keep fluctuating here. I mean, if Bitcoin ends up rallying, this thing will come up with it as well. But this ended up being a bad luck of a day today. In terms of just me trying something random and you get a random result.
Well, we cannot catch them all.
Nope.
All right. So that's pretty much it for the day. I will see you tomorrow. Peace out.
Do svidaniya.
What the is we